The iceberg theory. The iceberg theory, also known as the theory of omission, is a term used to describe the writing style of Ernest Hemingway. The iceberg theory is this: the meaning of a piece is not immediately evident because the crux of the story lies below the surface, just as most of the mess of a real iceberg similarly lies beneath the surface. Hemingway himself explains this principle in his book Death in the Afternoon, published in 1932 in chapter 16. As he explained it, by omitting certain parts of a story, a writer actually strengthens that story. The writer must be conscious of these omissions, and the writing should be true enough for the reader to sense the omitted parts. When the reader senses the omitted parts, a greater perception and understanding for the story can be achieved. And now let's try to apply Hemingway's iceberg principle to the endings of his most famous works. In his famous novel, The Sun Also Rises, the protagonist, Jake Barnes, is an American journalist living in Paris. Jake suffered a war wound that has caused him to be impotent, though the nature of his wound is never explicitly described in the novel. He is in love with Brett Ashley, a twice-divorced Englishwoman. Hemingway does not tell the reader that Jake Barnes and Brett Ashley will never be together, though readers know they have no chance at a lasting relationship. Robert Jordan is surely to die at the end of For Whom the Bell Tolls, but Hemingway leaves the reader with the image of Jordan's heart beating. Now try to apply Hemingway's iceberg principle to the ending of his short story Cat in the Rain. Symbolism. The iceberg principle, by its very nature, invites symbolic interpretations, though Hemingway disliked discussions regarding the symbolism in his works. He says, "No good books has ever been written that has in it symbols arrived at beforehand and stuck in. That kind of symbol sticks out like raisins in raisin bread. Raisin bread is all right, but plain bread is better. I tried to make a real old man, a real boy, a real sea, and a real fish, and real sharks. But if I made them good and true enough, they would mean many things. The hardest thing is to make something really true and sometimes truer than true." So, a symbol is the use of a concrete object to represent an abstract idea. The word symbol is derived from the Greek verb which means to put together, and the related noun which means mark or sign. Symbol, when used in literature, stands for something else. Either a person or object or situation represents something in addition to its literal meaning. A symbol may appear in a work of literature in a number of different ways to suggest a number of different things. Most commonly, a symbol will present itself in the form of a word, a figure of speech, an event, the total action, or a character, etc. The most prevalent symbol in Hemingway's The End of Something is a destroyed lumber mill, which represents Nick and Marjorie's soon-to-be destroyed relationship. As they row past the mill, Marjorie remarks that it reminds her of a castle. Nick says nothing to this. Hemingway feels it unnecessary to explain Marjorie's allusion to the castle, that this is most likely the way she views her relationship with Nick, as a well-defended fortress incapable of destruction. He is also not tempted to analyze why Nick doesn't respond. He simply uses Marjorie's allusion and Nick's lack of response to connect the future fate of the relationship with the past fate of the mill, one of the ultimate ruin. The characters, actions, seasons, diseases, etc. stand for something larger in Hemingway's literary works, though, as we have already mentioned, Hemingway disliked discussions regarding the symbolism in his works, and he said, "I tried to make a real old man, a real boy, a real sea, and a real fish, and real sharks. But if I made them good and true enough, they would mean many things. The hardest thing is to make something really true, and sometimes truer than true." In fact, in the story A Cat in the Rain, the American wife, her husband, maid, rain, empty square, and cat are very real, yet they stand for something larger. Now, discuss symbolism in the short story Cat in the Rain.